Games are a projection of a developer's imagination. That is usually the case for any type of art form. Some of the greatest games come from twisted imaginations. Some of these games include Manhunt, Silent Hill, Danganronpa, and BioShock. In terms of tracing the original creator of Shock-type video games, we would have to go back to year 1998 with a coin-op game, or arcade as some of you guys call it, with a game called Splatterhouse, known for its depiction of graphic scenes in which they take inspirations from many slasher films. Hell, even the main character looks like Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th series, depending on what version you play. All relations aside, my name is Juggernaut, and this is my review of Splatterhouse for the TurboGrafx 16. This game has cliche written all over it, but that's the charm of a cult classic, I suppose. Since I am playing the TurboGrafx version, not that much is explained in terms of story. However, if you play the original arcade version, it has an intro cutscene that explains the story. So here's how the story goes. So two college students, Rick Taylor and Jennifer Willis, take refuge from a storm in West Mansion. This mansion is nicknamed the Splatterhouse due to the fact that the original homeowner, Dr. West, was rumored that he conducted some fucked up experiments. So in typical horror movie fashion, as they enter the mansion, the door shuts and Jennifer screams bloody murder. As she gets kidnapped, Rick in the process gets knocked out, only to later wake up with a mask on his face. The mask on this poor schmuck here is called the Terror Mask, or the Hell Mask in the Japanese version. The mask is a mind sacrificial artifact capable of sensing a thought. Why does it sound familiar all of a sudden? Why am I thinking of saying Muda? I had to put in the JoJo reference somewhere. I mean, come on, it's a mind mask. With this mask now on Rick, he has superhuman strength. With the mask's encouragement, Rick goes on a rampage throughout the mansion to save Jennifer from a fate worse than death. Hey, you! Yeah, you right over there with that lens looking thing right there. You look kind of weird rather than a person. But anyways, come closer, come on. Yeah, come closer. I gotta let you in a little bit of a secret.
It's called foreshadowing!
Thank you. Now on to the review. I mean, come on guys, this is true love right here. This is hashtag relationship goals. You got a boyfriend who would do anything to save his girlfriend. Hey guys, you want to follow Rick's way of saving a girl in only one easy step? Alright, step number 1. Beat the shit out of everything that comes in your way from saving your girl. More or less is available if you click this link and pay a monthly fee of 20 monster heads plus shipping and handling. Splatterhouse is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game in which you control Rick, this beefy looking guy here if you can't tell. The objective in short is to make it from point A to point B, beat the boss at the end of the level, and move on to the next level ad nauseum. Simple and straight to the point. For controls, you have a punch, a kick once you crouch and press the punch button, a jump kick which is very effective and has an amazing hitbox. You can also pick up weapons and whack some guys around like a day at a baseball game. This is simple enough, but it has some gripes. Compared to many other 8-beat beat 'em ups like Double Dragon and River City Ransom, this game is bare bones. I would expect more for a beat 'em up like this. Upgrades, new moves would have helped this game a lot and make it more enjoyable. The game is not that hard by any means, but for many first time players of this game, they would rage at the fact that once you lose all your lives, you would have to start from the beginning of the level. Thank God you have 5 continues in order to do some trial and error for this game, or you could just be a safe state so you're playing on an emulator. The biggest gripe I have is how sluggish the controls are. It's not because I'm playing on an emulator with a PS4 controller, it is also present when I play in the Virtual Console version. It is prevalent when I am trying to make a jump, especially when I am in the water stage, where I have to jump over the spike balls, therefore making health conservation a chore. Due to the fact that you miss your timing on jumping over the spike balls, you would lose a heart. This does not make the game easy for people who pick up the game and give it a try. However, as we move on further, we come to realize it is not about the gameplay, it is more the visuals that the game throws out to you. Many of the enemies in this game are grotesque, and some images can be bone-chilling for some people. This shock factor goes a long way to the point where it had to be censored when being ported to the TurboGrafx, ranging from flayed monsters to some pizza face looking thing. Who knew that food you threw away will just come back to haunt you? This is like another version of Pet Cemetery, except it's with food. Food Cemetery! I would also like to point out how some of the boss references some classic horror movies. We got the poltergeist that takes control of everything in this room, knives, chairs, and even this painting that comes after you. Let's also not forget about the chandelier that comes after you beat it. Keep in mind, if the chandelier hits you, it's a one-hit kill. Let's not forget Biggie Man.
While I take totes of the marijuana smoke.
No, not Biggie Smalls, you jackasses. I mean this Biggie. Biggie Man is an amalgamation of references. Chainsaw for Arms is a reference to Ash from the Evil Dead series. Its name is a reference to the Boogeyman. The burlap bag on his head can be a reference to Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 2. When the game was brought over to the West, the violence of gore had to be toned down, which included the grueling sound effects. This is not because of censorship, it is more of a fact that the turbografx can't handle some of the assets from the arcade version. Animations for some enemies and boss have to be limited for the same reason stated before. There is also a good amount of censorship in this game, mostly due to the fact that it was the 80s and all forms of graphic images and religious themes had to be removed. One example is in stages 1 and 2, where the weapon was originally a meat cleaver, but when brought over to Western territories, it was changed to a wooden stick. However, the meat cleaver can be found later in stage 4. Don't know why this counts as a censorship, but let's roll with the punches for now. The Hell Mask also got a change of look in between ports. In the North American version of this game, the mask had to be changed from a hockey mask to a red mask with black accents. This to keep Rick from looking like a Jason Voorhees ripoff. In stage 4 in the Japanese version, the boss is an inverted cross, but in the Western version, it gets replaced with a severed head. However, one of the biggest places where it has heavy censorship is in stage 6. I dare say it was censored for a good reason too. You might be wondering, why is a heart spawning all those fetus looking demons? It is not biologically possible, you might think. But what if I say that is not a heart? Because if you play the Japanese arcade version of this game, you come to realize that is a demonic womb, because when you defeat it, its amniotic sac bursts out with all the liquids coming out. Yeah, what the fuck? Were games even allowed to show this? Holy shit. Now that is by definition a shock factor. Now I kinda see why the Japanese version is more superior than the Western version. Censorship can ruin the original creator's work because of the fact that some certain images can't be shown. Now it's time to tread into spoiler territory, my friends. If you don't want to see anything, skip to this part and I'll give you my final thoughts of this game. I'll wait for you if you need to. Okay, on to the spoilers. So at the end of stage 5, you come to figure out that Jennifer has been turned into a monster. She pleads help me every time she turns back into a human, begging for Rick to end her suffering. After that somewhat simple battle, Jennifer tragically dies in Rick's arms, further fueling Rick's rage, which takes him to a bloody section of the mansion. Rick discovers that the mansion is alive as he goes down the hallway, beating up monster fetuses along the way he meets the mother, or the womb in the arcade version. Because he defeats the womb, the mansion is now burning because its source of power is destroyed. Yeah, I don't know, just follow me through with this. As Rick escapes, he comes across a grave. The Hell Mask releases its energy into the grave, reviving a monster called Hell Chaos, which is the embodiment of Dr. West's anger, the now deceased owner of the West Mansion. This boss battle is pretty easy in the first half, but in the second half, you have to be careful with your moves because you have to pay attention to the crap that's coming down upon you and the boss's hands who are after you. Once the evil spawn of hell is destroyed, a tormented ghost appears and dissipates into thin air. The mask shatters in the process, turning Rick back to normal and flees the scene as the mansion burns down to the ground, as he walks all alone without Jennifer. Mission accomplished. Final thoughts about this game. It is bare bones to the point where a skeleton might need its skin to feel full. Its sluggish controls ruins moments when you want to conserve health, yet I can't help myself to say I hate it. I like the way how this game portrays itself as edgy like an emo kid at Warped Tour. It has the haunting factor which makes me sleepless at nights, and I don't get scared that easily, plus the fact that it has a cult following. Also, let's appreciate the music that is on point. Overall, this game is meh, but it has the size of being a gem in the rough. With games like this setting the roots for the shock genre, it is no wonder why some modern titles tend to try to sell the games based on shock alone. Overall, my final score gets a out of 10.